This video is brought to you by ATIYA by ATIYA, a vegan and cruelty-free hair and skincare brand owned by your girl, me. All of my products are made with love and are 100% natural. Head to loveatiya.com and make your purchase today. What is up, beautiful souls? It's your girl, ATIYA. Welcome to my very first episode of the ATIYA experience. So excited, oh my gosh. So I just need y'all to know like what I've been going through to get this podcast out to y'all before I even start. First of all, maybe like 3 minutes ago, like as soon as I pressed play to originally record this first intro, this is my second time recording this intro, there were literal lawnmowers outside. Yeah, like loudly lawnmowering. So that's cool. And then I couldn't find my my mic that I have. You know, I started a rap career. Don't know if y'all know that. I invested in a whole mic. I actually have 2 mics now. I can't find either of them. So then I was like, all right, we'll just use my headphones. Then a couple more. Oh, my outline. I had written an outline. That's currently on the phone that I'm recording on. So who the hell knows? But I also had to talk with my mom earlier today about how I can have as many outlines as I want. But usually my best, most creative projects come from ones where I'm absolutely unapologetic and unorganized. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. And actually, I decided to re-record my intro because I didn't like the way the audio sounded through these headphones. Like, these are prehistoric. Who still has headphones with cords? Me. I still call my like music iPod. Like, I'd be like, oh, let me check my iPod. Let me put this on my iPod. So anyways, all of that to say that I'm so happy to be here with y'all. I'm so happy that I was able to push through. I'm so happy that the lawnmower stopped. I'm just happy to be able to finally have this podcast. I want to give the biggest shout out to my girl Tori. That is my childhood friend. Like, I never thought that I would like really be as close with my childhood friends, like, because I just felt like I was homeschooled, like, which is such a misnomer. Like, you can definitely have childhood friends being homeschooled, and I actually am in touch with a lot of my childhood friends, but Tori is one that, like, we are on a very similar life path. I feel like we have very similar spirits, and I say all of this to say that she has been trying to motivate me to start a podcast for, I want to say, the last like 5 years. Like, seriously, I feel like I have inboxes on Facebook, like back when I used to inbox on Facebook, of her trying to get me to do a podcast. So thank you so much, Tori, and thank you so much double time, because Tori put me onto this podcast called Horrible Decisions, y'all. The very first episode of Horrible Decisions I ever heard was the episode where one of the hosts, Mandy B, talks about pegging a guy, and that got me instantly hooked. I literally went from that episode to episode 1. I think that was episode like 204 or something. I went to episode 1. I was not playing. So thanks to the Horrible Decisions ladies as well, because I've honestly been really inspired just by their transparency and their unapologeticness and their candidness and their authenticity and all of that. So if you are into podcasts like this one, or if you're into just sex positive podcasts, I definitely recommend Horrible Decisions. It's one of my favorites, or my absolute favorite podcast. So that's that. This is not an ad either. I just love it. So what can you expect from this podcast? You can expect a lot of laughs. You can expect a lot of transparency. I am really working towards the goal of being so unapologetic in life, honestly, and not caring about what people think. And so, sorry, I went to fix my pillows because, like, aesthetically, I needed to look amazing. So, yeah, look at that. That looks better. Okay, if you're listening to this via, like, a podcast station as opposed to YouTube, I just moved my pillows, and they're golden black, and I'm really proud of that. Okay. But on here, I really just want to share my journey with y'all. I got so centered on social media in general that I was like, let me just make a podcast. Like, now is the time. So you can also check out my Patreon, which would be an extension of this podcast. And I just want it to be a place where we can interact in a positive way without me having to decipher between who's trolling me and who's being rude intentionally and just a lot. We will talk about the trolls. We are going to talk about the trolls. There's also so much in my life that I feel like people don't know that I've been through, or whatever the case may be. And if y'all knew, you'd get a greater perspective of who ATIYA is. And you may even find me to be even more relatable than I already am. So that's another thing. And really just sharing the journey of like my growth as a 28-year-old young woman trying to make it in America. Like, this is a lot. Trying to make it on earth in general is a lot. And then of course we're gonna be talking about sex. Lots of sex tips, lots of sex stories, lots of do's and don'ts, lots of myths and truths. And I'm super excited to start having some guests on here as well. But you know, I'm a Virgo, so I like it to be all about me for a little while. With that being said, I would like to start this episode talking about my journey of celibacy and how these niggas let me down. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I can't. Like, I was just ready to dive in. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first, okay? So my name is ATIYA. My birth name is ATIYA. I changed my name to Love ATIYA in 2015 because I was actually getting cyberbullied by a former friend. And it was to the point where she was coming at me at all different directions. And if she was like adding me online, or like at one point she even sent me an email. But prior to her sending the email, I literally changed my email address to be iloveatiya. So if you're going to reach out to me and if you're going to like bully and harass me, you're at least going to give me some love while you do it. There was that. And then there was also the fact that I just felt like I needed to cultivate and manifest more love into my life. And so I felt like what better way than to change my name to Love, because then I'm speaking it into existence actively. One thing that this journey of changing my name to Love has taught me is that there are so many different definitions of love, and there are so many lessons in love that I haven't learned yet. And I cut my heart off to certain forms of love for a while out of fear. And even self-love has been something that I really had to redefine and figure out. So changing my name to Love ATIYA definitely got me down this rabbit hole of trying to actively find myself. So I feel like on the scale of like 1 to 100 of finding myself, I'm at like I'm gonna say I'm at I want to say 75, but if I was aware of my amazingness, then I'd be at a 95. That's really what's stopping me at this point. It's just the severe imposter syndrome, which we will discuss. So yes, I was homeschooled growing up. So from the 1st grade to the 12th grade, I was literally homeschooled. And then I went and got my GED in order for me to be able to go to college. That is a story that I definitely cannot wait to tell y'all. That was a lot, and that is actually one of the reasons why I did not go to college. So I think it kind of backfired. But yeah, I got my GED, graduated, moved to Atlanta when I was 21, I believe, maybe 22. And then it's been history since then. I was supposed to be in Atlanta for 2 years. I ended up being here for 6 years, going on, I guess, my 7th year now. But I am going to be moving soon. So stay tuned. Throughout this journey, you will learn a lot about me that you do not know, and I'm so excited to share it with y'all. I'm trying to think of what else is super important about me. So I had my own business when I was 4 years old, and then I ended up transforming that to be a different business when I was 13. So when I was 4, I was selling like little paper fans and stuff, and I was making money. And then because it was a thing. My mom would host annual customer appreciation barbecue. Shout out to Imani Jewelry. She is the owner and creator of Imani Jewelry, along with my grandma. And I was really just surrounded by businesswomen my whole life, so that kind of was just in my destiny, I guess. But I still have to say that I was selling paper fans at my mom's annual barbecues for $1. And then when I was 13, I had a business called Power Girl, and that is where I learned a lot more about business. And I sold jewelry, I sold pocketbooks, I sold custom decor for the house, I sold paintings, I sold candles. My mom and I, because I was homeschooled, we would do certain things like experiments in science class. So we kind of made my business turn into a science class in a way. So like when we'd be mixing up candles, like that's learning, like that's homeschooling. And then I'm also about to sell them, and that's business. So that was really dope, and I'm excited to share more about that experience. But the way that I got into the world of sex, I'm gonna say sex work, because I feel like this is a form of sex work in a way, or like sexual education. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's just like up to whatever your definition of. But the way that I got into the world of sex is I was a virgin for 24 years. 24 years! And that's a lot of no's. Like I had to say no to a lot of people. And the craziest thing about me and my virginity is that I've always been super sexual and super curious, right? So even at a young age, like I used to watch porn, like I used to know how to like sneak on the internet and like look up certain things. Sorry to my parents. I remember they caught me one time, like my dad had come into the room to look up something, and it was like big booty bitches. I was like 9, and they pulled me aside and were talking to me about it. And I was like, golly, like, so it's one of those like cringe moments. But I've always been really curious. I've also been really gay my entire life, very, very gay. But I never really was tapped in. So I remember like one time I was watching Judge Judy, And I guess somebody had said something about somebody's son being gay and like had disowned him. And Judge Judy was like, I don't care if you are a gay garbage man. I'm going to love you if you're my son. I don't care. So I remember I walked up to my mom and my dad and I was like, would y'all love me if I was a gay garbage man? And they were like, yes, ATIYA, of course. I was like, okay, so that's good to know. Like if ever I decide that this is my destiny. So on my social media, I talk a lot about my experience of trying to find myself sexually and honestly like trying to de-heterosexualize myself. Like, and we're gonna talk more about that because I'm so frustrated with myself at this point, with my own sexuality. But I really blew up on TikTok because I started talking about my experience of being a virgin. Now, I was already in a TikTok partnership prior on my other page, iloveatiya. I'm an animal activist before anything. Before I'm even a human, I'm an animal activist. So that's really where I got my original fame or original start from, with my page, iloveatiya. So if you're ever interested in anything regarding animal activists, how to save some lives, definitely check that TikTok out. And I remember one day I was trying to be so curated on my new page, and I was just trying to be something I wasn't, and I got tired of it. So I got home from work one day. I was overworking a 9 to 5 too. I laid on my couch. I was like, I was not fresh looking. And I made like a 60-second video about myths and truths that I wish I would have known before I lost my virginity or shared my virginity with my partner. So yeah, that's basically where it started, and then it blew up. Now that video has like 3.2, I think, views on TikTok, and yeah, I'm super grateful for it. But I have been on a roll ever since of just trying to educate people and teach y'all all about the world of sex and self-pleasure and self-love, honestly. So that's basically what we're gonna be diving into, literally just my whole life story and everything that ATIYA entails. Now, back to my celibacy journey. So tell me why. I feel like back in the day when I was able to be naive and when I wasn't self-aware, I was able to let a lot of things go, right? And even when I was self-aware, I just feel like I used to just play the ditch. So I would peep that certain things were happening, but like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I'll just let it go. Now, I've realized that there's this facade that guys put up, and I'm able to see right through it, and it's really frustrating. Do y'all hear that? They're back! I'm back. The lawnmowers have stopped. I'm officially ready to dive into the celibacy journey. So, first things first, the reason why I started the celibacy journey was because I was wilding. I was wilding. So, let's actually do like a little timeline of my sexual history, shall we? 2018? The end of 2018 is when I shared my virginity with the person that was my ex. Well, that was my boyfriend at the time. That is now my ex. After I broke up with him, I had a sexual experience a couple of months later. I want to say like 2 months later. And the only reason why it was 2 months was because of the motherfucking pandemic was literally like just getting into action. Right after that sexual experience with the guys, that was my first sexual experience outside of having with my boyfriend, like having actual penetrative sex. So that was interesting. Well, we're going to dive into all of these. So these are just briefings. Then I had my first interaction with a girl. She happened to be poly. So that was interesting. Definitely fell in love with her with week 1. Again, we're going to dive into this. After that is where it gets a little bit blurry. I think that I had sex with this guy at the top of the year, who I ended up revisiting like last month, and we're going to get into that. Then I had sex with the track guy. I'm just going to give them all nicknames because it's a lot. And that was great. And that's when I actually learned how to like sex. So I was having sex this whole time, but wasn't liking it. And so with him, I actually learned how to like it. And I've shared that story on TikTok several times. But I'm going to be sharing it again. Then after that, I have, oh my God, Navy Boy. I was so in love with him, and we only had sex one time. That was the best night ever. Not ever. I'm dragging it, but it was a great, great, great night. After that, I didn't have sex, but I did have the best head that I had ever gotten, and that was in Mexico. After that, I had sex with 2 guys back to back in January. Oh God. And it's so frustrating because the second guy was a guy that I'd wanted to have sex with for a long time. The first guy was a guy that I wanted to have sex with his friend. And then after that, I had sex with another poly girl in a car who was white. And I didn't know that. So as you see, we have a lot of content for this podcast. But I say all that to say that my most favorable sexual experience out of all of them was the one with the girl. Like the very first woman that I ever was intimate with. And that was so amazing because I've just always been attracted to women's bodies. I've always preferred breasts. I never was that fond of vagina just because I didn't have a good relationship with my own. But I feel like the more of a relationship I grew with my own, and the more of a relationship that I grew with the girl that I was talking to and her vagina, I was like, I literally love this. I could be here all day. I'd like to sleep here. So lesbian sex, I learned, is just so much more intimate. It's so much more intense. There's so much more foreplay. Like, if this is what makes me hate men, because at this point, you know, how many women have to tell you that we need foreplay to get off? You know. So yeah, that is like reason number 259 why men get on my last fucking nerve. And this is not like an I hate men podcast. This is Men Are Disappointments podcast. And this podcast, one of the intentions is to help the men who care hear the frustrations of a woman who wants to talk to a man who cares. Like, isn't that hard? And if a majority of men don't give a fuck about women, let's make that be the consensus so that women stop trying. And if women want to be with the man who doesn't give a fuck, at least they know he doesn't give a fuck. Because this breed of men out here who act like they give a fuck and don't are creepy. It gives creepy. Let's also add to that I then, after these sexual experiences, was sexually assaulted twice in 1 year. Guess what year it was? This year. This whole year has felt like an entire motherfucking blur. Now, I can speak about this and like have this lightness in my voice because I spent weeks being depressed about it. So I had to just get it out of my system. And I still have growing pains when it comes to finding myself sexually and still confronting these sexual assaults, which is something that I would like to actually focus my next episode around, because I feel like it's really important. I feel like it'll be really healing for myself and for everybody else. I also want us to do something because I realized that when I do YouTube videos, I crop out my ums. But I have a lot of motherfucking ums. So let's do an counter. And if the ums get beyond 50 ums, I'll post a thirst trap to my Instagram story. I don't know who that's serving. Me, I guess, because I like taking thirst traps. But I can say though. I can say because I'm growing out of the ums, okay? Is just like so harsh of an ending, but I can lead into something else, okay? With that being said, I want to have sex. I want a dick inside of me, and I don't care if it's plastic. So the fact that, okay, rewind. It's like that didn't even happen. Let's actually really be honest with what we want, because I want intimacy. I don't want to be fucked. I don't just want a dick inside of me. I want to feel cared about. That in itself will make my soul feel so refreshed. So refreshed. And I feel like the frustrating part about this is when I learned that I was a demisexual, I realized that casual sex will just never fulfill my spirit. And if you are not familiar with what a demisexual is, if you are not in therapy and don't have this amazing tool that my therapist has given to me, then I can gladly share it with y'all. Demisexual is somebody who just needs an emotional connection to be able to be intimate with somebody, to be able to feel good while being intimate with somebody. Kind of in the similar sense of a sapiosexual needs their minds to be stimulated before their genitals are stimulated. So I need my heart and my emotions to be stimulated before anything else. That causes a major disconnect, though, when you're in a generation of, let's just play games. Let's act like everything's just so casual. Let's do this and let's do that. Then there's no fun in the sex for me. With a lot of those previous partners that I told you about, I disassociated for a majority of them. There was only maybe 2 of those sexual experiences I can say I wasn't drunk for. 3. And it's crazy because the better sexual experiences were the ones that I was sober for. The one with the track star, I didn't smoke or drink. The one at the hotel towards the end when I started my celibacy journey, like right after him or right after the poly girl after him, he and I only smoked. So it's just something about liquor, and I don't even know if it's the liquor. Well, one thing I will say is even one of my better sexual experiences that I had with a guy, it wasn't even the sex that was great. It was just the night before, like just the leading up to the sex that was amazing. Because by the time the sex happened, I was too drunk to recall what the I did. Like, I remember certain parts. I also remember that there were parts that, like, hurt and made me uncomfortable, and I spoke up about it. The first time, though, that I spoke up about it, I remember, nope, just kidding, because I was about to go into the story. He has a whole episode planned, so we're not going to talk about that. Stay tuned! But there's so much to dive into. My point is that I just want to feel sexually comfortable with somebody, and it shouldn't be that hard. I do want to speak on, though, these two last experiences that I had that have made me solidify how important boundaries are when it comes to sex and my sex life. After I got sexually assaulted the first time, I went to a guy's house, I want to say a couple of weeks later, and I was still kind of fresh out of my depression from that. So I really was not fiending for men. I don't even know how he got the courage to invite me over to his house, but he did. And he ended up giving me like $10 for gas. Like regular me is, or like higher self me is like, wow, that's really sweet of him to give you gas. Ego me is like $10. Like he definitely could have given me more than that because there was a time where like gas was mad high. And I literally drove an hour and 20 minutes to go to his house. But I like higher self me way of thinking, and just adds more peace to my life. So I was grateful for the 10. Then like he rolled us up twice. My friend told me like, you know, if a guy don't roll up for you more than 3 times, like it's just a dub. Like, and so I kept that in my mind. So I'm like, oh shit, like we're on blood too. Like I was that excited. The third one never came. He gave me some wine, and I don't know. I just be feeling like sometimes guys really be trying to like drunk you into your panties. Like they want to get you so drunk that you or just like just release your inhibitions, in the words of fucking Natasha Bedingfield, and I'm not with that. So he gave me some wine. I didn't even finish it. I didn't care for the wine. No offense. Like he really did try, and he was really sweet. My problem was that I just wasn't emotionally connected to him, and the more that I could verbalize that, the more that I could see how important it is. Like he was cuter than I thought he was gonna be. Like he didn't have any pictures on his Instagram, so the fact that I was able to like see him in person, I was taking a motherfucking risk. But he was cuter than I thought he was gonna be. There was just a disconnect. It just is what it is. There's nothing against him. I then started feeling a little bit love bombed because at one point, like when we started kissing and stuff, like he was like, "Oh, you're the girl of my dreams," and I was like, as someone with commitment issues, I can feel cared for, but stuff like that is overwhelming. Like the girl of your dreams. Now I know I'm fucking amazing, but like we're not that. You're not my soulmate, and I knew that. So that kind of took me out the moment. And then what really set it apart or set me off was when he asked me if he could give me oral sex in like the middle of us making out. And I was like, no. And then we continued to make out, and he was like, come on, like just for like 2 seconds, just 2 seconds. No, like no. And then he's like, come on, just like 3, I just want to do like 3 minutes, like just 3 minutes. Heckle from, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we leveraging my vagina? So that threw me off because that was the start of this chapter of my nose don't mean anything to you niggas. And that's why y'all are all getting cut off. So consent has become a very, very, very big thing for me. It's always been a big thing. Even since my virginity, since I was a virgin, no was never a thing that I had a problem saying. But I would have to say it a lot. And I didn't realize because my self-esteem wasn't as high as it is today, I didn't want to compromise anybody by having to say it too much. But at the same time, I was very unapologetic about it. So I just had these inner thoughts still like, why do I have to keep telling this person no? I should have just cut them off, but I'm still giving them chances because in my mind, nobody else is going to want me. And so I'm happy that this person wants me. Now, let me just also say, it's crazy that was my mindset because to this day, I can still pull niggas. Like to this very day. And I'm so proud of myself. Like it's the people that I used to talk to back in the day, like as a whole virgin, I was able to pull you and all you did was eat me out and I didn't even have to give you head back. Come on, pats on the back for me because that was elite. So I will say that, which is why now again, like in this journey of dating, like if you are not setting my entire twat on fire, I don't want to date you. I don't want to give you my time. If I have to figure out if you're worthy of my time, this ain't it because I've done too much self-work to realize that you are not the one this fast. Like I really should not. It should not be months in, and I'm like, I don't think that you're for me. No, I knew from day one, and I'm not ignoring that anymore. So that was my first experience. I ended up leaving afterwards. I didn't even. There was, I was also really proud of myself because I didn't jerk him off. Yup. I'm very proud of myself for that, because being a recovering people pleaser, back in the day, I used to feel like I didn't want a guy to feel gypped. But a nigga ain't never cared if I was gypped, because a majority of those experiences I told you about never climaxed. So, and they didn't care about it. God, what number of ums was that? I hadn't done it for a while, so I'm very proud of myself. I realized, that yeah, he just wasn't the one, and so he jerked himself off. Like, I don't even think I played with myself. Maybe I played with myself for a little bit. I tried to play with myself, but I wasn't turned on enough to get off after that. Like, and then at one point he also finger banged me, and that fucked me up as well. And then when he was jerking himself off, it made me feel so bad, because I felt like he was like, you know how some guys can jerk off and it's real sensual, and then some guys can jerk off and it's like, that's how it felt. It felt like it felt like a feverish jerking off instead of a moment that really could have been intimate. So that to me turned me off again. So it was that, and then the aftercare of it all, like the lack of texts afterwards. Now, granted, I wasn't into him, so all of this is very irrelevant for this situation. But it just was like, damn, what if I was really into you? Like, what if we had sex? Like, what if I jerked you off? I really would have appreciated a follow-up afterwards. He did text me, I think, the next morning. Maybe said good morning, or thanks for a great time, or he said something afterwards. And I was like, no. And then I hadn't heard from him after that. And then he hit me up again, maybe via DM or something like that. I don't know. But I think that my energy definitely gave this as a dub. So bless his heart. I hope that he had an amazing encounter with me. After that, I went to go see a friend, somebody that I thought was a friend at the time. And I also want to talk about this in my next episode about sexual assault and sexual violations. But that's when the second sexual assault happened. So after that, honestly, there was so much shit happening in my life, like still healing from the first sexual assault. The fact that this person, the friend that I went to go visit, knew about the sexual assault still violated me. Like, my brain wasn't even allowing me to process what was happening in my life, because I think it was just protecting myself, to be honest with you. So after that, and after I confronted the situation like a week later, I'll say a couple of days later after it happened, 2 weeks after that, I was on Hinge and ended up like seeing this guy one of the guys that I had sex with prior. And that situation was lackluster. And the reason why I ended up being able to reach out to him after that was because I had posted a TikTok one time, and it was like, when you're at a guy's house and he pulls out a gun, puts it on your table, and has a big dick that just does not feel good. Like, it is not for me. And everybody was commenting like, oh my God, girl, who that? Like, I need that, like this, that, and the third. And it's crazy because then, like, fast forward after we had our situation, I felt like his dick wasn't even as big as like I remembered it being, if that makes sense. But nonetheless, I realized the problem wasn't the dick, the problem was him. Now, he ended up following me on TikTok shortly after he saw that video that was about him. And crazy that he even, and this is how you know he's a Leo, because I could have messed with mad big dick niggas that had guns and put them on my table. How do you know that was you? And maybe I said something else that was specifically to him, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. That was just a weird flex. Then, after I saw him on Hinge again for like the 15th time, which is how we met, I hit him up on TikTok and was like, that awkward moment when they say that, like, we're super compatible and we're dead not. Like, because we were. And they kept saying that we were compatible. Also, he has kids on his page. And I would just like to acknowledge that I was never told that he had a kid. So, that was very, that's always just sus to me when people hide their kids to me. I was very adamant about not swiping for people with kids at a point, so I just feel like he just added that in there somewhere. But anyways, hold up. Because I cannot let any more of this video go by without mentioning my absolute favorite plant medicine company ever, and that is Heaven High NYC, y'all. It is Black owned and operated. The customer service is absolutely freaking superb. Shipping so fast. Delivery can happen the same day depending on what time that you order it. Again, they are based in New York City. And if you are not a smoker, but you are into plant medicine or want to dibble and dabble, that is totally okay because they have so many other options. Not only do they have so many options for their herbs, but they have vape carts. They have edibles. For their edibles, let me just say that these bad boys are to live for, okay? They got brownies, they got cookies, they got lollipops, they got gummies. They literally, that's just to name a few. Okay, and they are potent AF, so you don't need to eat a lot of them to feel absolutely amazing about your life, okay? You're gonna head to heavenhighnyc.com, sign up for their email list. They're gonna email you their menus. Thank me later. Love y'all so much, y'all. Heaven High NYC. He DM'd me back on TikTok and was like, let's mutually masturbate. Like, I want to get to learn your body, this, that, and the third. All cap, all cap. Let's just start off there. Also didn't realize that 2 weeks prior to that, he had hit me up on Snap asking to mutually masturbate, and I missed that message. So that was interesting. Ended up rekindling our shit, started talking via text. Next thing I know, again, realizing like love bombing the fuck out of me. Like I had 2 days that I had available. And so I told him the 2 days, and he's like, I want both of them. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm thinking he's going to choose one of them. So I had a shoot that day that I went to go see him. So I went to go, and I told him, like, about certain things that I thought were jacked up. Like, his lack of aftercare, the lack of getting tested, his lack of just caring in general. There was a point in time when I hit him up after I had sex with him, and, like, I had told my friend, like, I wanted to see him again. Like, I wanted to just try it again. And he was like, oh, well, I'm super busy, so, like, I don't know when I'm going to be free. To me, as a fellow busy person who uses it as an excuse, I already knew what it was. And even when I told him about it, he was like, yeah, like, that's fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, that is fucked up. Like, I'm happy you realized it. So he kept saying things like, you think that I'm such a dick, or you think that I'm such an asshole, like, you think I'm really the devil, and that's really sad. And I'm naming these instances as to why I'm thinking that he's a dick and an asshole. And he claimed that there was a lack of connection afterwards because we went into it being fuck buddies. So he didn't want to incorporate any type of feelings or anything to like possibly have him get rejected. At the time, because I wanted to be intimate with somebody, I took that bullshit and ran with it. Didn't ever believe a word that came out of his mouth. Let me just say that. But I did just have to make that be a thing in my head so that I could feel like, oh, okay, it's safe for me to do something with him because he was just being a dick. But now he did the same thing, y'all, literally again. So we just know that one, men are horrible when it comes to rejection. And now I see the pattern, and we'll get to that. But 2, men are liars, and 3, men are not men of their words. So there's that. He's like, oh, and I'm not gonna hurt you. Like, I would never hurt you. Yeah, because guys are walking down the block like, hey, I'm hurting women for $5.99. Like, no, nobody's doing that. Like, nobody's announcing that they're gonna hurt you. So if the hurt comes, the hurt just comes. You can't control that. So that was when I really started to realize, oh, he's still on some BS. Got it. But I just wanted to see how the night would go. He invites me to his house. I drive over there, get to his house, ended up spilling wine. Like, I want to say, I don't know, 15 minutes into me being there. So I'm already like, fuck. I end up going to Kroger by myself. I thought he was gonna come with me. Going to Kroger, getting like white vinegar, club soda, and fucking and then he's like, oh, grab some red wine while you're there. But I felt like he had said that shit like to be petty, but I let it go because again, like I just wanted some intimacy. And I want to remember how many times I say like I just want some intimacy, because is it really worth it? Is it really intimacy if I'm not getting what I want, and if I'm not having that emotional connection or feeling cared about it all? Like what way is that intimate? So I get back to his house or whatever. I guess he could see that I was stressed, so he like would kiss me up or whatever. Like it was like I asked him about his kid, and he's like, yeah, oh, I thought I told you about that. Nigga, no, you did not tell me that you had a fucking 2-year-old child. Like, no, that's something that I definitely would have remembered. So that was never mentioned. And the weirdest part about him is that it's like he gives sociopath, or more so he gives narcissist, in the way that there's like with my ex as well, and with the guy that sexually assaulted me, they're all in the same bracket of narcissists, where there's this emptiness inside them, and there's this like emptiness behind their eyes, and they're able to put this light there, which gives me sociopath, but I don't know, it's just something missing, and they try so hard to overcompensate for that thing that's missing. So even when he would try to be kind of cute about certain things, it was just like, this does not feel real or authentic, and so that was fucking me up. Another thing that was a red flag was when I emphasized how important consent was. And I've tried not to trauma dump on people to where, like, if I go through something, I just instantly tell you everything that I've been through. It's hard though, because I want guys to have a perspective. I remember one time I told this guy, I was fresh out of my relationship, which was extremely abusive. And I told him that I was in an abusive relationship and like I just needed, like patience. And he literally replied and was like, I could tell that I've been in an abusive relationship. Like, that is fucked up. So that was really traumatizing for me, on top of the trauma that I experienced, to just know that, am I walking around looking like a fucking victim? Like, how can you tell? So I took it over that. And I also learned there's this thing that's out there, and I'm still growing through this, but they say if a guy knows what you've been through, he will put you through that again. I have mixed emotions about it, because on one end, I'm like, yeah, but if a guy knows that I've also been in therapy for 3 fucking years, he'll have some perspective and know that I won't be going through that shit again. But also, maybe not. Maybe he doesn't have the wherewithal to know that. So I still feel like if it's the right guy and it's somebody that I want to give my body to in that way, I have to be able to share that part of me, because that is just who I am, and it's important for me to feel safe when I'm having sex. So I made it clear to him that I did need consent, and we could talk about shit in person or whatever if need be. He said, I'm gonna let you take control. I'm gonna let you take the lead. You got it. Like, I'm not doing nothing. You take control. I'm like, okay, bet. But I wasn't sexually confident enough with him because of our prior experience to feel like that was the thing that I wanted to do. I also know that when you're with somebody, you should want to please them. And I'm at a place now where when it comes to certain guys, like, I don't want to give you pleasure. You don't deserve it. So when I was with these last 2 guys, I literally turned my sex appeal down. And that's so hard when you're trying to find yourself sexually and you want to kind of get your sex appeal on, to know that that shit is below 0. Because you've turned it off. Because you've literally just found a way to, like, numb it out and, like, not be as turned on in the moment in a way. And it's like, it becomes just so performative. So, anyways, one thing I didn't appreciate about him was when he did tell me that I was going to be able to take control and have my moment or whatever. He says, yeah, but don't take too long, because I'm going to get mad and frustrated. Like, don't be shy, because I'm going to get mad and frustrated. That was another red flag, because why are you getting mad and frustrated with my timeline of things? If it's all about consent, then I'm consenting to the time that I do this shit and I'm not feeling rushed about it. Because then that just turns into fucking coercion and, like, it's a mind fuck. Random. But if a nigga ever tells you he's doing psychology, he's studying psychology in school, run to the opposite direction that nigga is. Because guys who study psychology, one, will probably never do anything with that shit. Never. My ex, for a while, was studying psychology. Where's he at? He ain't out there being a therapist. The sociopath who sexually assaulted me, he claims he's trying to be a therapist. Who are you therapizing? Like, there's a lot to unpack in that situation. But I have just had too many experiences of guys who have studied psychology for me to know, stay the fuck away from them. Women too. Women are not exempt from this when it comes to dating. Like, they very much so try to get into your head. I fully acknowledge that. And if they can acknowledge that, then it's like, okay. If it's a friendship, I gotta gain your trust, to be honest with you. But if it's a guy, I'm on 10, because I'm always gonna feel like you're trying to manipulate me in some way. I say all that to say that the night that I ended up doing this playtime with this guy, the mutual masturbation, I learned a very important lesson, that you should be very, very fucking comfortable with the person that you are mutually masturbating with, because it can be very uncomfortable if you're not into that person, or if you're not feeling safe. I bought my 2 favorite sex toys, which is, again, something that I learned that I would not do in the future. Like, I just wouldn't. I'm still going to actively and happily use those toys, but you don't deserve to experience my good shit. Let me pull up my shit that I had for years. Like, I don't want your juju on it. So I literally had to sage my shit. I literally saged and washed my shit when I got back home, just to make sure. Because at one point I texted him, because let me actually get back to the story, because then I'm skipping. So, the very first red flag was, after I cleaned up the wine or whatever, he was playing a video game. I felt like we weren't really being that, like, touchy-feely or whatever. So I laid on his lap. And also we couldn't get the other wine bottle open because he didn't have a wine opener. So there was just so many, like, mishaps to say, like, girl, he is not the one. Like, we ended up having to literally drill a fucking hole in the wine bottle and then, like, put a nail in there and then, like, scoop it up with a hammer. life hack, if anybody needs to know that. I guess that's what that night was for. So we got to like have like a cute little moment. Like there were he asked to play like motivational music on his Siri, and they started playing literal like a motivational speaker, and he was like, I can't do it, I can't. And it was like a crowd behind him like, yeah, okay, I do it. So like that was a genuine, like that was probably the most genuine and authentic moment that we had. We were genuinely laughing, like it was good shit. He never paid me back for my wine, by the way, so that's gonna come back in a second. When it comes down to the point where we're supposed to get freaky or whatever, I start taking off my shirt, and then he's laying down. He doesn't have a 6-pack, so I'm like, like that's not a big deal. That's me being very petty, but I just like built bodies. So, I get on top of him, and I'm like making out with him, and the kisses just aren't hitting. And when the kisses don't hit, that's when I know. I think I literally stopped to take another like swig of wine. I just needed to like get out of my head, because this was not hitting the way I needed it to hit. I can't even really remember the way that he touched me, y'all. I can't even remember the way that he touched me. Like, I really can't. I just know that at one point I ended up getting my toy, because then we realized that he could use my WeVibe Nova 2, by the way. If you're ever interested in the WeVibe Nova 2, there's a little quick brief recommendation. I recommend going to shopsadora.com. Use the code iloveatiya for 15% off, and you can literally get the WeVibe Nova 2 for a discounted price. One of my favorite toys thus far. Penetrative, does clitoral stimulation. If you do the combination, that should hit. But your partner can also use their phone and operate it. So this is the first time that I had a partner that was able to operate my toy with me. So he downloaded the app, whatever, did what we gotta do, set it up, configured it. It was really fast. And then his profession allows him to be real fast with his fingers. So just fill the fucking blanks. You get it. So he ended up doing some shit, and I'm like, all right, this is cool, but like I need a good pattern. Like I need a good beat to like keep it going, because if it's going from low to high to medium, like my vagina and my vulva is like, what the fuck is happening? So we got it together. Finally, I started operating it myself. And then that was cool. But like literally, like as soon as I started operating it, he was like, yeah, baby, come for me. Yeah, come for me. Yeah, come. Yeah, come for me. And I was like, the pressure is getting worse. Like, what? We've only been doing this for 5 minutes. You want me to come already? I'm not even that turned on right now. So that was a learning curve in being like, calm down, my guy. And then when it was time, like when I did finally come, I don't even know if he knew that I came. And I did like a whole thing. Like, I'm not even going to impersonate it, because I was about to impersonate myself. But I did a whole thing. And yeah, it just wasn't hitting. And the craziest part about it is that afterwards, he made a joke about how I took so long to come. And like kind of seemed like he was aggravated about it. Like literally was joking about it, but then talked about it so much to the point where he sounded like he was actually like getting frustrated by it. Because I wanted to come again. Like I'm coming one time. This is not my norm, like at all. I wanted to say to him in that moment, and had I been in my right mind and probably not drunk, I would have said, or tipsy, when I'm at home, I can make myself come. I've lost count. I usually lose count around 7. Like I can make myself come several times in several different ways and several different velocities. So the problem is not my vulva nor me coming. The problem is you and you not knowing what to do. And if I tell you fucking go like this and curve your finger when you're in my pussy, curve your finger when you're in my pussy. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. I fingered a girl before. It's not that hard. This does not do shit to me. And I've said that so many times. It is a come hither motion, a come hither fucking motion. Anyways, that's where some of my frustration lied. So the worst thing, 3 things. One was I touched his penis. That was one of the situations where I did touch a penis. But it was pretty, so I didn't mind it. And I remember I said to him, like, will you go get tested while I'm like in Mexico so that we can have sex? Like, will you do that? If we have sex tomorrow, the day I was supposed to see him, will you get tested? And he was like, yeah, of course. Girl, who did I think I was? Like, who did I think he was? Who did I think that was? So, of course, that wasn't a thing. We did not have sex, but I did jerk him off. And the funniest part was when he was like, oh, I'm about to come. He was like, what'd he say? I think he asked me if he could come. I think he asked me if he could come in my mouth. What? It takes a very special kind of being. First of all, I have a texture problem. So the whole that's gonna fuck me up. I don't like that texture. Second of all, if you're not vegan, you're not coming in my mouth. no animal byproducts in this mouth. Third of all, you didn't get tested. So you could have little chlamydia bubbles flying in your sperm, and that could end up in my throat, and I don't want it. So that was a dub. So literally, like, as he's asked me, and I was like, no. And I was like giving him a list of places that he could come. I'm like, you can come on my breast. Like, you come here and there. I'm like, shit, you can even come on my face, honestly, because I just had this, like, one breakout right here. So, you know, you could really get that going for me. But then by the time I had to explain all that, he had come on his chest, which I think is really funny because I feel like guys are normally like really like anti-cum, anti-their cum. And it's like, why? Do you want your cum in my mouth but it can't get on your body? Okay. So yeah, he came on himself and that was really funny. And then also, oh man, what was the other thing? At one point, when I was jerking him off and I was playing with his balls, because he kept saying, like, play with my balls, play with my balls. So I'll play with his balls. And then he'd be like, you can go lower, you can go lower. And I'm like, what's lower than the balls? What do you mean by go, like, what do you mean by that? Like, you got to be a little bit specific on that one, because there's some implications in there that are making me tell you want me to eat your ass. So that was interesting to me. Because there's no way that he just wouldn't like gooch play, because that's very close to your ass. Now, let me just say a couple of things. One, this is not a podcast that is going to shame kinks or things that you like. I don't think that if you like anything with anal that you are automatically gay. Because I feel like that scares so many men from wanting to do things with anal play because they think that they're going to be thought of as gay. And again, there's nothing wrong if you are a gay man. And there's also nothing wrong if you are a bisexual man. I am a whole bisexual woman, and I am very extremely frustrated by the fact that I am bisexual. And I feel like the opposite, though, of like, I'm not supposed to like men. I'm supposed to like women. So the fact that I feel like society has bred me to like men is just very, very frustrating to my life. I don't know. I'm not trying to shit on him, because there's actually something about him as well that's very sad and gives me like a... I don't know, I just feel bad for him. Like, I feel like he puts on this persona, and I just feel bad for him. It's just something, I have compassion for him, but I don't have the compassion on the lack of compassion he has for me. So that's why I don't feel that compelled to express the compassion I have. So yeah, that was that. Ended up, he came, I tried to come again. He didn't have no patience, and we both had to get up early. So I put the vibrator away, and then I was like, oh, let's cuddle. He literally blatantly like did not cuddle with me, like turned his back to me, complained about me not coming again several times, or taking too long to come several times, and then went to sleep. I knew that it was a problem when I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and was like cuddling his back. Like, I literally was a big spoon. Never have I ever in my motherfucking life been a big spoon for more than 5 minutes at least before you want to turn around and grab on my booty or hold me in some way. There was no holding at all, which was another complaint that I had told him about our first sexual experience. So I thought, since you changed, you're this person, and you were scared of rejection and catching feelings. Now, what's the problem? So that was my final straw. I didn't smoke. I couldn't sleep. I had to be up early. He had to be up early. I didn't feel like waking up and having to see his face. So I left. I literally got up and I fucking left. Like, it was just that. So that, to me, the lesson in that was a couple of things I'm grateful for. One was that you can't mutually masturbate with everybody. That's one. 2, don't bring your favorite toys. That's 2. And 3, it was nice to mess with a man who had his own apartment, his own car. Just stuff that I felt like was important that a lot of people my age don't quite have right now, and I feel like they should. I know that housing situations are definitely like hit or miss. They're very sparse. I mean, I think y'all already know my living situation, so there's that. But so I don't judge as hard in this climate, especially in this financial climate, about that. But like, there are certain bare minimal things, like just a car to get around, or just, I don't know. It's just certain things that if I'm going to date you, I need for you to have these things in lock. Because in the relationship that I was in, he lived off of me. And I can't have that again. I can't. I'm finna be thriving in a second, and you're not about to live off of that thrive, because you wasn't when we showed in the gym. Like, what? So yeah, that was nice that he had his own. But the red flags were red flags, and I definitely see those. So I'm grateful for the lessons. Done with him. I'm good on it. So what happened was I left my stuff over there, ended up having to go back over there to get my stuff. Also sent him, because we didn't talk after that for real. Let me tell y'all this part, and then I'm going to conclude the podcast for this episode. When I left in the middle of the night, I didn't know where his keys were, and I was really trying to sneak out. So I literally got up, left the door unlocked. He's like literally on the fucking ground floor. went to my car, got halfway to my fucking house. It was a 30-minute drive. Got halfway to my house and said, this nigga got a kid. I cannot have her grow up to be a fatherless child. Like, I can't be responsible for that. Like, if you know what I'm saying. So I went back, turned my ass around, went back into his fucking house, found his keys literally right on his counter, took his house key off, locked the key, put the house key under the door, and texted him and told him what I did. Like, this is the crazy shit that I went through. And I don't even know if anybody really knows that happened. I get home, I go to sleep. We don't really talk that next day. He told after he said something, I don't even remember. And then his replies were getting real slow because he was at work. Then he randomly texted me and was like, it's looking slow for tonight. Because remember, I was supposed to get both days. He randomly texted me, like, it's looking slow for tonight because I got booked for a double. I said, LOL, okay. He's like, what's funny about me having to book a double? Not you trying to act offended. What? I'm an actress. Please no, I'm an actress. Like, I've lied to niggas before. I know the game. There's no need for the theatrics. So the LOL was just, LOL, you really think I'm dumb? You could have just said you didn't want to see me because you knew you wasn't going to hit. Like, it's okay to be transparent and honest. We can save so much time. Ended up sending him a 7-minute voice message about how I felt like the sex was performative, about some of the trauma that I went through and why it's important for me to feel cared for, about how there was no aftercare and that was important to me. Can't even remember what the fuck else I said in my voice note, but yeah, I went in. And it wasn't even in a way of rudeness. It was in a way of, if this is gonna work, we have to be able to have these transparent conversations. And at the end of the day, I knew that after sending that, I didn't want to have sex with him. But I think that there was still a bit of maybe old 27-year-old me that was like, well, I do want to be intimate, before I had the epiphany that that's not intimacy. It's not. If I just want to hang around a guy, that's different. But I have guy friends I could do that with, because then there's no sex at all involved or expected. So I'm really grateful for the lesson. He's cut off. He never replied, never acknowledged the voice note. I told him I need to come get my shit. I ended up going to his house. He left the key under the mat, because at one point he said he was going to leave my shit outside. No. I called him and said that's not happening. And then he left the key under the mat. I went to go get my shit, which was right by the door, but I didn't realize that when I first walked in. So I walked in to go to his room. It looked like he had a whole fucking party. Probably had another girl over there that night. Like, I don't know who, or another guy. I don't know. It was like tequila and shit around. And then, yeah, he kept trying to give me a drink tequila. And that was another weird flex. Like, bro, no, do not getting me drunk. Except for the wine that I voluntarily wanted to drink because I was just in my head. Ended up going back into his room when I, again, didn't see my bag. So I was looking for my shit. Saw my wine sitting right by his bed. Oh, I'm so happy that you enjoyed it, because I'm taking the shit back. So I took my shit back because you didn't give me the money for it. And you're not about to enjoy the shit with no other fucking person. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a friend or a cousin. So that was that. And then I got my bag of shit. I checked it in the car, and then I dipped off, and I got my umbrella. And yeah, that was it. I'm proud of myself for not pushing the situation. I asked him if he listened to my voice note twice. First time he said he was at work. Second time, I think he just straight up ignored me. So yeah, I deserve so much more respect than that. He's just a disrespectful person. Regardless of the compassion that I have, I just know what I need in my life. And I'm grateful for him to show me what I don't fucking deserve, because it was just the last straw. Like, enough is enough. Like, when you get violated so many fucking times, and when you could have these same repeat instances, what is the point? Also grateful for him because he helped me with my no go backseat rule, and my mom also inspired me with that too. Also, shout out to my mom for inspiring me to go on with this podcast and just be unapologetically myself, because I was so in my head and so on this timeline, and I want to outline and all this stuff, and I don't care. This felt really good to just be able to vent to y'all. So shout out to my mom for all her motivation in shooting this podcast. I'm really grateful. But with that being said, with him, I'm grateful because he taught me exactly what I will never fucking tolerate again. That's it. That was the end of an era. I had to get it out of my system for 27, but it's 28 now, and it's on and motherfucking popping. We are not doing the bare minimum, and we are not doing no fucking go backsies. No fucking go backsies, okay? I'm so excited. That is 1 or 2 stories out of fucking billions. I'm about to have more. Fighting the urge to join Hinge, y'all. I'm going to tell you the truth. Fighting the urge to join Hinge. And if I did, I'm going to build my profile if I decide to join it, and then like let y'all in on what I said, because I want y'all to tell me if it's cringe or not, because I'm going to be hella transparent. Like, hey, y'all, I want to have sex. And I want to be intimate. I'm demisexual. And if you, I don't know. I say that now. And I'm like, hey, I like flowers and art. Like, probably is what I'm going to say. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm thinking about recreating. Oh, I'm the same girl that was like, oh yeah, you're 28, no dating apps. No. We're going out. We're going out. We're meeting guys in person. We're not. Because like dating app guys are sociopaths. And here I am going back on these fucking apps. It's just kind of this, I don't know. Sometimes I think that maybe there will be this random bright light like me. I'm a bright light on a fucking dating app. I'm a bright light. So maybe there'll be a me. But who am I kidding? There's no me, especially not a guy version of me, please. But girl versions of me would be great. But girls on dating apps will make you disdain being a lesbian. Is no fun on dating apps. No fucking fun. No fun. All right, y'all. I could continue to go off on a rant about that for forever. I'm on a roll now. But I'm so excited about this podcast. This is going to be so great. I have stories for fucking days. So thank you so much for making it this far. I love y'all so much. If you want to watch this in a video format and see all of my crazy facial expressions, you can head to my Patreon and become a patron, which I'm so excited about. You'll get the full episode. You'll get some extra perks. You'll see all of my different tiers. It's going to be amazing. This is also just a gentle reminder to follow me on all of my social media platforms. On Instagram, it's @iloveatiya. On TikTok, it's @iloveatiya and @loveatiya. And on YouTube, it's iloveatiya. I love y'all so much. Please give yourself a hug for me. And don't forget to be